Yo, what's poppin', guys? You got your boy Nandra here. Welcome to another video. This is gonna be the part 2 of part 3 of my mini set review. So the first one that we covered was rune. So it was like forest sword rune. Comes like going down in like order of the crafts, and then like this one will be for dragon shadow blood. Yeah. And then, of course, the last one will be for like Haven, Neutral, and Portal Craft. Anyway, so going on into this, we're gonna go ahead and talk about what I think is probably like the standout, like universally accepted as probably good legendary of this set, aka the Chase card. So, what we're gonna talk about is White Frost Dragon Newt Feline. So she's the Dragoncraft legendary, and looks very nice, like art wise. She's a 2-mana 1/3, evolves into a 2-mana evolves into a 2 form, and then her fanfare is put a White Frost Whisper into your hand and then evolve it. Her fanfare effect is put a white Frost Whisper into your hand, and then her evolve effect is deal 1 damage to an enemy follower. So these two parts are very important. So before we go ahead and talk about why they're important, let me go ahead and show you guys her token spell, which is the White Frost Whisper, which is a 2-mana, choose an enemy follower and destroy it if it's already damaged. If it has not been damaged, deal 1 damage to it instead. So for those of you who think about this, basically like Execute from Hearthstone, or it's basically like Siegfried, or it's like one of the many if already injured, kill it spells that the Dragoncraft has to its name. Now, going back to the card. This makes this card, in my opinion, very good. This card, like I said, is going to be the Chase card, because if you don't already like feel like crafting it or whatever, if you play dragon of any shape and size, you're going to want to play this card. This card does a lot of things very well. So as I mentioned before, it's a 2-mana 1/3. Like the 2-mana 1/3 stat line is very good if you're playing aggro, because it doesn't die to 2/2s, which means you can still get damage. You can also, like, if you need to trade, you now have the freedom to trade. Now that being said, you will probably almost never evolve this card in aggro, because you don't actually get like full mana stats, but that's fine. Like, that's a perfect trade-off once you think about all the things that this card does for you, because it does a lot. So going into it, talking about some things, like, again, for aggro, Salt is a solid pusher that doesn't die immediately. It helps like power up like stuff like, say, your Inas or your Hippogriff Riders, which is really cool. Additionally, you can use it to bust down wards, which is also nice, because aggro in general gets stopped by wards, and also Storm Dragon stuff in general, again, gets stopped by wards. Now, in terms of say PDK, which is like the go-to immediate like standout, like isn't like the archetype that probably wants this card the most. This card's amazing. Like, so to break it down for you, there were like some like very like interesting scenarios that I thought of while I was like thinking about like how best to break this card, which is usually what I go to do when I'm talking about the Dragoncraft cards, and one such scenario came to my mind. So 7 mana, you have this card, you have the PDK, you have an Evo. So if everything goes well for you, in a unique scenario in which you win some like 50-50 juggles, and your opponent also has a 1 HP unit, you can kill up to 4 units with this card, and with this card plus PDK for 7 mana in an Evo. And how you do that is you play PDK, then you play Feline. The PDK will trigger, and then something will take 2 damage randomly. Now, Ideally, what takes 2 damage is something that will die from the PDK proc, but if not, it's still fine. Then you go ahead and you Evo Feline. You deal 1 damage to it, you deal like 1 damage to something else. Now again, ideally this unit dies. Then from there, you go ahead and you then go ahead and trade Feline into something else. Again, maybe killing it, maybe not killing it, but at least the unit will be injured. Then you can go ahead and they can play White Frost Whisper, and then that unit will die too. So realistically, what's going to happen is that up to 2 to 3 units will die for 7 mana, and you get 2 creatures into play, as well as your PDK setup. Or what will happen is you can go ahead and you can like set up your PDK, kill just 1 unit, but also be able to feed an Evo to your PDK. This is a very big deal. So part of the issues with PDK was that, like, due to its nerf, it's still like a really hard card to play on 7, because there's no 1-drop for you to pair with it. But this card kind of helps shore up that weakness a little bit. and make it a little bit better. Oh, also, quick slight correction. I don't know why I was like thinking of of 3 mana PDK. I was like making those like setups and scenarios, but like yeah, you'll still need 8 mana for this. But this is still like a really good turn to get for 8 mana, because like again, Dragon's 8 mana turn is comparative to like say possibly like someone else's like 6 mana turn, or maybe like their 5 mana turn, depending on like how much you're like able to ramp. But that still makes this card very good, because again, you can feed the balls through PDK. You can also kill off units in the process, and kill off big things now. It's not just well if your opponent like plays like big things, they can go ahead and overwhelm your PDK's cleaning potential. Nope, doesn't work now unless they have multiple big units, in which case, well, you're already gonna lose anyway. So like this doesn't really change that much, but that still makes this card very strong. Now, in terms of Ramp Dragon, why I think this card is good is because like it's an early game trump blocker. Well, trump blocker slash trump trader, which is to say like this clears up this clears up some / all of the garbage that your opponent is going to play early, while you can go ahead and you can like ramp up freely if you like, play Roy, grab ramp, play Oracle, things like that, and also still keep you afloat. Because one big thing about Dragon is that like you can't really ramp without getting pressured in the current metagame, but this card kind of helps take off some of the pressure on you. Additionally, and this part is really important, we have things like Ozzy the Haka. So a combination of things you can do with this card is to get two discounts on Ozzy the Haka, and then also use the White Frost Whisper to go ahead and clear off a ward or something like that, and then get to go face, or clear off like some like big unit and get to go face with Ozzy the Haka, which is very nice, because like playing storm units, as I've mentioned a few times now, like it's really hard to justify playing a storm unit where you're not clearing your opponent's board, unless the storm unit is in fact killing your opponent, or unless you're healthy enough to not really care about the repercussions of you playing out a storm unit and not adjusting their board. And this card kind of helps you fix that as well. Now, I know some people have said that again, like it's not really going to see play in Ramp Dragon or whatever, but I think it will. I also think that like that's some of the arguments that have been made, which is, oh, well, are you gonna play this over Summoner First White Worm? Probably, like, but not because Summoner First White Worm is like bad per se, but Summoner First does have some like slight issues, like which is like, for example, we're going into a format where there's gonna be a lot of 1/3s. Summoner First is a 2/1. That's like if you're trying to contest 2/2s, yeah, Summoner First is great. If you're trying to contest 1/2s, Summoner First, a little bit less good, but still good. And 1/1s, again, same thing. But 1/3s, Summoner First dies to them. You get something out of the process, yeah, but like you don't actually get to reap the benefits of the thing you got immediately. I'd rather just be like playing a 1/3 and just like looking for a card draw elsewhere, or like looking for heals elsewhere. Because again, like your Dragoncraft, you do have the option to get heals from other sources if you need to, at least for right now, until of course rotation happens. Because when a rotation happens, I believe the only heal card that a Dragoncraft will have left is just Summoner First White Worm. So when that bridge comes, we'll cross it. But for now, I definitely think this card is a little bit better than that. Or possibly, if you want, you can go ahead and cut off Dragon Summoner as well, or play Dragon Summoner in addition to Summoner First. Because for me, how I view 1/3s is that like if you pair them with other 1x units, that's suddenly fine. Like for example, if you pair this card with say Singer, boom, like you get two very nice early game chump traders that kind of work on curve. Singer draws you 2 cards. This card gets you a card. You get to stay very healthy in hand size. The staying healthy in hand size thing is actually pretty important for things like say Frenzy Drake, as well as just having options in the mid game as well. Now, one other thing that I kind of like failed to mention is that like for the evolve effect that'll possibly happen in PDK. It'll probably happen in it'll possibly happen in just like PDK, but like for the other 2 archetypes, you'll probably almost never evolve this unless you need to in a pinch. Because in a pinch, yeah, what you can do is you can go 4 mana, play this card, injure something, and then kill it, and then have a 2/4. Is it the best play? Is the best play in the world? No, not really. But is it a thing you can do? Yeah, definitely. And that's really nice, because like again, being able to kill off like big game creatures in the process for very little mana is what makes some of the decks in this game like as good as they are. Like for example, like Mid Shadow of Old, like they had the ability to just like kind of clear off your creatures, no matter how big they were, with tempo, and also have like mana to spare to go ahead and actually make like proactive plays of their own. And that's the big thing here. One combo you can do is like in the mid to late game, where like for example for everything so like 8 mana, you can you can go Elder Tortoise into Feline, into Evolve Feline, ping a creature, kill the creature with Whisper, and then you have, and then for 8 mana you get 2 4/4s. Sorry, you get 2 2/4s, and you get to declare a creature. We've also put into play Chump Traders that you can use to facilitate you playing Storm units afterwards, and that's really nice if you like understand any of the rhythm that you need to any like the rhythm and spacing of what you need in order to be able to get down your Storm units for free, and that's again a big thing there. So yeah, so again, in my mind, I'm pretty sure this is like the like de facto best card of this particular like mini set, hands down, like 5 out of 5. I definitely expect to see play, and I really am hoping to actually like pull the emblem for this card, because again, this art is sick. Moving on. Alright, so next card is Dragonplate Warrior. So Dragonplate Warrior is an 8 mana 7/7. It evolves into an 8 mana 9/9. This card I think is actually really good. I actually like it a lot. Now, alright, so the reason why I like it a lot is because one, it has the ward tagline. For those of you who are wondering, Dragoncraft actually does not have many. Will not have many wards going into like set 9. Because some of the words that they have right now are leaving. Like for example, Zeus is leaving in a month, Rahab is leaving in a month. Like, and these are two of the premier words that they generally go to think about when you think about words in Dragoncraft. Yes, there are some words that exist right now, but like I don't really think any of those words are really like up to snuff. But maybe that's just me. For the actual effect of this guy though, because obviously if he were just like a generic word, you know, think like say something like, I guess like Fortress Oil or whatever, I would not be talking about this card. So the effect is Fanfare, give your leader the following effect. Whenever you play a non-follower card, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. This effect lasts for the rest of the match, and this effect can stack. So Dragon at the moment, Dragon in general, they play a lot more spells than one might think. They actually, like, I'm pretty sure like they're the class that plays probably the most spells next to Runecraft, honestly. Maybe even in some meta games more than Runecraft actually. In that of things like say Blazing Breath, Oracle, Dragon Nest, Waters of the Orca, and so on and so forth. And that's a very, very big deal because the recurring trend about all those cards I just listed, they're very, very small, like in mana cost, which means you can play several of them in one turn. Which means that like if you somehow end up in a situation where we get out multiple Dragonplate Warriors, you get to rack up damage fast while being able to just like clear your opponent's board and just like, you know, do whatever. So a quick simple case in which you get to play 2 Dragonplate Warriors, which is actually not that hard because again, Dragonplate Warrior has ward, so it's actually a nice thing you can just like fast ramp into and just like slam it down. So if you get to play 2 of these, it means that if you play 3 spells, your opponent takes 6 damage. If you play 4 spells, they take 8. If you play 5 spells, 10. Like, that's a very, very big deal when, again, Dragoncraft is also the class that has a lot of Storm units. Granted, some of these Storm units are in fact rotating, but for now, they definitely have like quite a few like really, really good Storm units that you really don't want to hit you in the face. Another quick example is a play you can go for is you, again, assuming of course that you've played like 2 Dragonplate Warriors in the same game, is play Dragon Horde. You get to deal 2 damage just from the cast of the Dragon Horde. To then go ahead and play out like say, I don't know, like a Blazing Breath or like a Dragon's Nest or whatever. If you've played out 3 of those, that gives you 4 more damage for a total of 6. And then of course, factoring in the actual Storm units themselves, which are the Maelstrom Dragons, that gives you a total of 10 without evolves, and for about like 9 or so, maybe 10 mana. If you get the full 10 mana one, it's 12 damage without an Evo. If you get the 8 mana one, that's like 8 damage, I think. Yeah, 8 damage without an Evo. Assuming of course you've played like 2 of these, which means that damage racks up pretty fast. And that's definitely a lot of damage that you probably did not expect, which makes it like really cool. One other thing I like about this card is that like I definitely think this card will be good in both Limworm as well as say its own sort of like deck. It might also even just be good enough to play in Ramp Dragon by itself, just because it gets you a very, very important thing that the Dragon in general wants as a whole. It gets you effect based chip damage. Like, again, as I've mentioned previously, Dragon does have like some difficulties with wards, especially through HP wards, and this helps you kind of circumvent that weakness, as well as just, you know, be really, really annoying. and just like get to choose how you fight your opponent, get to choose which game plan you want to go for. You want to go for playing a Fat Storm? Cool. You want to go for the, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to control the board, slowly chip you down, and then just kill you via burn damage? Cool, that works too. Like, having more dimensions to play is a very, very good thing in my honest opinion, because that's how you know, the best of the best decks or whatever, that's how they work, because they get to fight you on multiple dimensions, and get to, you know, if they can't beat you one way, they'll beat you another way, and that's very, very cool in my opinion. So I definitely think this card is to play. I definitely think it's pretty good. I'm not sure if it's gonna like make it, if it's gonna like break out and become its own thing immediately, or if that'll, you know, take time to do. But again, definitely a good card to keep an eye on, I think. Alright, so now on to the shadow stuff. So I know going into this, a lot of people were very skeptical about, like, well, how good could they make these cards that would actually like improve shadow. And I guess we're gonna find out. So this card the first card is Arcus Ghostly Manager. This one is the Shadowcraft Legendary. It's a 7-mana 6/6, evolves into an 8/8, and its fanfare: give your leader the following effect. Whenever you play a follower that originally cost 3 mana or less, destroy that follower and summon X ghost. X equals the original cost of the destroyed follower. This effect is not stackable, and it lasts for the rest of the match. So basically, what you get to do with this card is you get to essentially play a different game with your opponent. Like, you probably lose like most of your board presence for the rest of the game, but in exchange you get to make fast trades or like fast space damage, depending on like how you get to use the ghost. Now, on an average turn, for Shadowcraft, who plays a lot of Chi-Chis, if you do actually have like the card draws to support this, you can possibly play in one turn about like 8 or so ghosts, maybe, assuming of course you have the board space to do all of this. Otherwise, you're usually gonna be playing about 3 to 4 ghosts, maybe, and also trying to like play out something else that's like kind of tall. However, one big thing to note is that Shadowcraft, they play the most 2-drops of any deck in the game, and that of like usually upwards of like 25. So destroying that portion of your deck to get an effect like this is a very, very will in some games be a very, very dangerous gambit, and I'm not sure how well you're going to do it. Additionally, I also don't know if this is going to be I also know that this is going to be a card that like won't have its own deck based around it, because like it's really hard to make a deck based around this card. But in exchange, it lets you give additional power, like, so like, you know, kind of like a supporting cast to other Shadowcraft decks. Now at the moment, that doesn't actually mean that much for the current like where we are in Shadow, just because like Shadow at the moment is like defined by both midrange Shadow, which has Ektar, who's sleeping in a month, and then also Reanimator Shadow, which again, like, that archetype plays off of like reanimating like big boys and keep like playing them. However, additionally, that archetype is also getting affected because they're also losing Zeus in a month. So this will be a card that, like, how good it is, it will almost entirely depend on where is Shadow going into set 9. Like, what are these cards doing? However, that being said, for me personally, I definitely think this is a card that I'm looking forward to play, just because like there are a lot of like really, really nifty combos you can do with it. Like, for example, you can do you can do, I think it's like, what, like 9 mana? Yeah, like 9 mana, play. You can go ahead and play Ephemera, then go ahead and play 2/2/2s. You get 4 ghosts, and then Ephemera is only doing 8 damage. It's doing 8 damage, maybe 9 if you have maybe 9 or 10 if you have an Evo, or if the Ephemera was like already placed. Well, that's kind of nice, because it's a nice like fast damage combo they can do that does a considerable amount of damage. And also with the way that damage calcs work, if for some reason your opponent is not able to stop you from doing this, and you're able to like play Aisha the turn afterwards, that actually is a 20 damage combo that involves what, like 5 cards? Yeah, like 5 cards, but they don't all have to be played in the same turn. They can be like systematically like spaced out, and this is a very, very big deal. That being said, though, that is one of those sort of like, I guess, like more like gimmicky combos in which Ephemera by itself not really great, Arcus by itself again not really great. And then like the only like safe part of this is like the Aisha, who's already, you know, like a defined good card. So yeah. One other thing I like about this card is that like it only does it for your 3 cost or less, and not for your 4 cost or more. Not for your 4 cost or more. However, that will mean that like you have to like try to find space to put like more like 4-cost ballers in if you're like worried about like not having board stability of any sort at all. Which was like create like a nice like deck building challenge for your for the Shadowcraft player, which I definitely think is really good, because like I really like the deck building puzzles they have to go into when you're like making a deck. So I definitely think this card will see play. How good the card will be, I personally think it's really good, because they're probably gonna be like really nifty ways for you to use it, but I'm not sure yet, because I'm not sure what they're going to print for Shadow, because Shadow is in a period of transition. So where we go from this, we'll find out. Oh, but this is definitely a card to keep an eye on, I think, but not as much of an eye on as like say Feline or say like the Force Legendary, because those are like S class, like, yeah. Alright, so next card is Lord Death Skull. So this card, in addition to having very cool artwork, has a very interesting effect. So its last words: give a random ally follower last words, summon a skeleton, and then if it's evolved, its last words: give a random ally follower last words, summon a zombie. So one thing that's like interesting about this card is that like they purposely made it like super slow, in that like it's a 2-mana 1/3 evolves into a 3/5, and then of course if you actually get the effect off, this becomes a 2-mana 2/4. But you need both this guy to die and the thing that you tag with it to die without getting interrupted, and that's a lot of hoops to get through for a very like low cost. If you evolve this guy, you then get what is essentially a 2-mana 5/7. Again, assuming that you get all of the checkboxes crossed off, and there are a lot of checkboxes crossed off. Now, that being said, I do actually like this card. However, like I said, Shadowcraft is actually in a point of transition. Now, the reason why I like this card is because, again, it's a 2-mana 1/3. If you augment this by playing things like, say, Singer, or like just, playing other good like 1x units that can, be like used like systematically trade up, unless you get denied the trades by, say, things like, say, Storm 2/2s or things like that. Sorry, Storm/Rush 2/2s. Then that's like good, but I don't know if all of the trade-off is like worth it, like, and that's a very interesting thing to think about, because again, this like the payoff can be denied from this card in a lot of ways. Like, you need to have 3 creatures out into play in order to safely guarantee they're going to get this effect off, and you also need to like make sure that your opponent is unable to play around it. Like, for example, just like completely for a second, just ignoring like the 3 classes that have like banish of some sort. Well, I say 3, I think it's like 2. Yeah, ignoring like the 2 classes that have ignoring the 2 classes that have banish, and like some of the classes that have like spin card removals. That makes this card have to go through a lot of trials and tribulations to get its effect off. And I'm not sure how good that's going to be, but I do think it's a card that has potential, and that's a big thing. All right, going on to the Blood Legendary, Waltz, King of Wolves. So this guy is a 3-mana 3/2, evolves to a 5/4, and its fanfare: put a Blood Moon into your hand. Whenever an allied Blood Moon comes into play, evolve this follower. So I definitely think this guy is actually really cool, and I actually like the effect a lot. One of the reasons why I like the effect is because like it gives you a free evolve. Like, free evolves, as we've seen time and time again, are actually like very hot commodities when you're a class that can have it, and also have it in a good enough capacity. Like, for example, if you have things like, say, Luminous Mage or Elder Tortoise, that's amazing. But then we have to go down to like the tier 2s, where we have things like this, like when tier 2 is a lot better than like tier 3, because like tier 3s are the ones that like require you to fill like a lot of conditions in order to get the free evolve off. Like, for example, there's actually one in Bloodcraft actually that requires you to be Inventions free to get the free evolve point back. That's a lot. That's a big hoop. But this guy, is a little bit better than that. So as a 3/2, he's pretty good stat wise. Now, granted, ideally you would like prefer for him to be a 2/3, because 2/3 is a little bit better for trading purposes. But that's fine. Like, he just like aggressively costed, so he's like aggressively statted, and that's fine. Now, you'll play this on 6 in order to get the free evolve immediately, or you just like play him and just like wait on the Blood Moon to be played later. Now, for me, I think just like playing this on 6 is like one full deal is like perfect. However, with Silver Chain Disciple, a play you can go for, you can just like play this on 3 on curve, do whatever. Then on turn 5, you can go ahead and play Blood Moon into Silver Chain Disciple to get the Silver Chain Disciple effect off, and then make that as sort of like spin card evo. which is kind of cute. For the actual viability of this card though, like it's obviously gonna be a card that we're gonna like be like wanting to play either like Vengeance Blood, or you're gonna be wanting to play like Control Blood of some sort. I don't really foresee this card being played in like anything else other than that. However, that being said, Blood is also a crap that's in a pretty like big transition period right now, because we don't know how they're gonna support Control Blood, but and that's something that they've like expressed interest in wanting to support. But we're still waiting on like things like Spawn of the Abyss to rotate, as well as just figuring out what we're going to do when Esmeralda rotates, or what we're going to do when Scarlet rotates, and so on and so forth. And those are very, very big questions that have to be asked. And at the moment, I don't really know if we're in a spot where this card is going to be something that people like actually want to play. For me personally, it's a card that I will want to play for sure. But for widespread use, I don't know. I honestly don't know. The next card is Raven, Eventide Vampire. So this one is a 2-mana 1/1, welcome to a 3/3. If you have at least 2 play points and Vengeance is active for you, play this card as either a Raven Noontide Vampire or a Raven Midnight Vampire. And then of course, if you're unable to pick a form, it's just Vampire Summon a Force that. So we'll go ahead and we'll just talk about the choose options first. So the first choose option is Noontide, which is Vampire Summon a Force Bat. Whenever an allied Force Bat comes into play, restore 1 defense to your leader. And then the second form is Midnight Vampire, which you can assume does the opposite, which I believe, is just Vampire Summon a Force Bat. Whenever an allied Force Bat comes into play, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. So I'd been talking about this for a little bit while I was reviewing Old Blood on my stream the other day, but the Old Blood King decks are decks that require like more bat synergies for them to be actually like good. Because at the moment, it's basically just like, oh, we have to hold a billion bat cards in your hand. You can't really, you're like unable to play them out because like the payoffs that you get for playing them are a pale in stark comparison to the payoffs that you get for just like playing them when you have Old Blood King. And this card like in an attempt like hopes to try to address this a little bit, although that being said, it doesn't really address it as well as I would like. But that's just for me personally. So you're gonna want to play this while you're in Vengeance, obviously, because if you play it in the other form, it's just like it's basically just like you're like playing like an Oathless Knight. Will you play this with Old Blood King on the board? I don't think so, because it takes up valuable board space. But when you're playing this without Old Blood King, you'll most likely be going for the Midnight Vampire form. The Noontide Vampire form also does like have like some like viability because it does give you like heals, which are kind of useful. But most times as Blood, you're usually more so gonna want the damage. Some interesting calcs is to think about is that whereas like Old Blood King, whereas it turns all of your bat cards into guaranteed 3 to 4 damage, this card turns them all into either 2 to 3 damage, I think. 1 to 3 damage. I'm sorry, 1 to 3 damage. Or no, it's 2. It's 2. My bad. I'm sorry, it's 2. Right. So whereas I say a Red Talon Strike would do 3 damage, it does 2 damage. Whereas like say a Gift of Blood King does 3 damage, it does 2 damage. Whereas like say a Summon Blood King does 3 damage, it does 2. Yeah, it also does 2 damage. And that's also very, 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 very big trade-off, because you also do have to be in Vengeance, by the way. Like, and Old Blood King decks, they do not play Blood Moon. So if you're in Vengeance, that means you're in hard Vengeance, which means that you are probably scared about dying. It means that like playing 1/1s are not what you want to be doing unless it's killing your opponent in that same turn. So it's a very, very big thing to think about. I don't know how much play this card will see, because I think this card is one of those like it's a good idea sort of, but not really implemented in the way that I personally would have liked. But I definitely think that people are going to play this card just because like when you play it as like an Oathless Knight, it's like cool because it does something relevant. Like it gives you extra redundancy. Like it gives you more things you can like play onto as Blood and not feel like awful about. And that's kind of cool. Right. But yeah, so this concludes the review for the Dragon, Blood, and Shadow cards. The next one will be for the Portal. Sorry, will be for Haven, Portal, and then the neutral card. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, go and hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you thought of the review. Like, were there anything you agreed with, anything you disagreed with? If so, let me know. You can just like let me know on Discord. You can just let me know down in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like and hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you